Hey guys, welcome back. So today we have Nathan Montgomery, the co-founder and CEO of 2TG Entertainment here with us. 2TG Entertainment are the developers of the FaenoraVerse as well as the Wildlands of Faenora. So Nathan, welcome.
Thank you so much. It's awesome to be here.
We're glad to have you here. Thanks for taking the time to come on with us today.
You bet. Wouldn't miss it.
All right. So maybe what we can do is start off with you telling us a little bit about yourself, your background, and how did you get involved in this crazy world called crypto?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a lawyer by training and still actually an active lawyer up in Canada. Before I got involved in crypto, which was around 2017, I was practicing at a national law firm up in Canada, doing corporate finance, M&A, and securities law, and wanted to move out of private practice into, more the entrepreneurial type space, and found a good landing point jumping from there into being general counsel, so head of legal for a uh, private Schedule One Canadian bank, and helped some of the individuals involved there set up one of the first regulated cryptocurrency exchanges in Canada as general counsel and chief compliance officer. Did that on both sides for a number of years, then jumped off to start a couple other entrepreneurial pursuits, and mostly in the blockchain space, doing and entertainment as well. So, cryptocurrency brokerage and Bitcoin mining, and I'm also an actor. But 2 years ago, it was actually a bit more than 2 years ago now, I was looking at the state of the blockchain gaming space
Mhm.
and thought there was a disconnect in terms of how things were going in what people were focusing on from that perspective, where it's not so much the entertainment value, but the token value. And it was the same thing that I saw in cryptocurrency, on the cryptocurrency space, which was all these projects coming out to showcase a tool rather than a function, rather than a value providing product or service. And so figured, why not do something fun with video games?
I see. So you actually do have quite a history with blockchain technology, then going all the way back to 2017. So what then made you decide to found 2TG Entertainment and have the vision for the company when you first started change from what it is right now?
It was really looking at, I mean, I played video games my whole life. I was a huge gamer, as anyone who's kind of been following us would know, specifically strategy and tactics RPGs. That was always my jam when I was a kid growing up, and has been since. And what I found when I was looking at, blockchain gaming 2 to 3 years ago, I was like, I understand blockchain, I understand crypto, and even trying to play games, I'd start trying to play them, and there were so many hoops for me to figure out, even just how the game was supposed to work. It didn't make any sense to me. There wasn't a blockchain game that I actually wanted to play. So I was like, okay, this seems backwards. This seems like it's a solution looking for a problem of, oh, let's just do a bunch of blockchain stuff and wrap it in a game so that we can say it's a game, but it's really all about whatever blockchain feature I'm trying to do. And I wanted to see what it would look like if we'd take an approach that's the opposite. Look at it just from, hey, what's a video game that I'd want to play, and how could we make it even better with blockchain, and be super disciplined about how we're using blockchain, and not like the moment that it's, well, we could add it, but it's not really going to add anything to the game, then you scrap it immediately, because that's not driving what you actually want the value to be, which is that entertaining game experience. So started 2TG to figure out if that's something that's actually possible, and figured the only way to find that out is actually try it.
That makes so much sense because unless you jump in yourself and start building a game and then think about how you can use the blockchain technology itself to enhance the player's gaming experience, otherwise, you know, you would just be all in theory, right? So it's great
Yeah,
that. You took action.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So, when it comes to the competitive landscape, right? How different do you think 2TG is in relation to your Web 2 or Web 3 counterparts?
The way I look at it from a competitive landscape perspective is it's nice in the entertainment space where it's not like a winner take all. It's a huge industry, and there's so many varied um, experiences that people want and niche groups. And you have, I mean, particularly with video games, you have groups and communities that can get like super into whatever game they're playing, whatever genre it is. Like they become diehard fans of what that is. And so I think when we're looking at the competitive landscape, I'm not I look at what other people are doing for inspiration rather than as competitors. If I mean, I will say that from even since we've started, a lot of what we've seen and a lot of the feedback that I've gotten from people who are dealing with a lot of Web3 gaming companies is that it's refreshing for them to talk to a company that's making a game that's truly focused on the game rather than focused on whatever the blockchain side of it is. And I understand that. I think the problem that a lot of those companies have, which I don't think you can avoid with the playbook that they've used, is that you sell a token up front. And then that's your product because that's what you've sold, that's what you've received money for. And now what you're doing is you're spending the rest of your time chasing to fulfill the dream or idea of whatever the people who put money in wanted to do it for. But that's really hard because you give them, you say, hey, we're going to make this great gaming universe, but you don't have much around it other than here's how the tokens will work. People will make up their own ideas of what that should be, and you're not going to live up to that. So it's hard because you've sold a product and then you're chasing to provide it. Whereas I wanted to turn that upside down in terms of how we're doing it. We make the product, we put it out there so you can play it. You can play the demo of the game to understand what we're doing. And then if you do that and you like what we're doing and you want to support us, then do it because we're actually giving you something of value when you're supporting us. We're giving you something, and there's that actual kind of tangible engagement tied to what we're doing. I think we're going to see that as an easier long-term solution. And on the Web 2 side, I see the Web 2 side no different from what we're doing in our approach, in that it's really the focus is making the best game possible that people want to play. And we're using some different tools to try to enhance that and make that a bit better. But at its core, we're going after the same type of approach of how can we make something that's entertaining, that people like to play and want to be engaged with on an ongoing basis.
I think that makes so much sense because, I've always had this thought where when it comes to Web3 games, the companies and projects in Web3 gaming, it should be about PvE and not PvP. We are such a
Mhm.
small industry right now that, we shouldn't be trying to compete or kill each other. The real
Mhm.
competition is in Web 2. That's where the real giants are. And we
Mhm.
need to engage with the Web 2 gamers and compete with the Web 2 games. So I think
Mhm.
this is
Yeah.
actually a pretty good segue to lead into some market talk right now. So
Yeah.
over the weekend, there was actually a huge discussion that surfaced between how Web3 gaming is so far off mindshare right now, where when people are talking about crypto, they're talking about AI or memes, and Web3 gaming is so far off. I just wanted to get your thoughts on what do you think about the state of Web3 gaming right now in current market conditions.
Yeah. I've never been a trend chaser. And so what I mean with that is there's a lot, and a lot that we've seen even over the last year of people saying, hey, this is the next big thing. If you just tack onto this, then that's where mind share is right now. You can jump in on this, make a bunch of money because that's where people are throwing it. But again, I mean, the sands shift all the time and people's attention shifts all the time to what's coming next. I think it's really, well, for me, I think some people, they live in that zone and they love it, and they love, chasing those waves like a surfer, and they're like, hey, what's the next big one that I can ride in? That's great. And they can do that, and some of them are going to be really successful doing it. The way I look at it from a Web3 gaming perspective is there's so much more that you can do to actually build to take an industry to the next level, that from where we're coming at it, it's not, hey, how can we just do a one and done, hey, mint out, we've made enough money for us to move on to the next thing and then be happy. It's really about how, even Web3 gaming, I don't think is the right distinction, because it's kind of like talking to someone back in 2000 saying, like, do you think online gaming is going to be a thing? It's a tool, right? It's the internet changing offline gaming to online. Hey, you don't need a LAN party anymore. Imagine if you can play with your friend and they're further out, but we have offline modes and we have online modes. I look at it more from that perspective. Again, taking out what's going to get the most attention, because you see this in every industry. You have these cycles of a bunch of money comes in, and then a bunch of projects fail because there was so much money that everyone got investment, and then so many projects fail depending on the development cycle. Oh no, this is scary. Money comes out, and then there's only a few projects that are good projects that get the investment. They do well. People are like, oh, this industry's hot again. Money comes in, and then that cycle continues. So I think if we're looking to do something meaningful within an industry, it needs to be able to survive that type of a fluctuation of what's hot right now, to be providing something that has sustaining value.
Yeah, and I think that makes so much sense. Because to me, gaming has always been an evergreen industry. Whether the market goes up or goes down, people still need entertainment. People still
Yeah.
need to play games. They want to play games, right? So if you take a look at what happened during the COVID period, when
Oh
all
yeah.
the different markets came down, gaming actually went up at that point of time because everybody was stuck at home, right? They can't do anything but just play games. Well, they're supposed to be working from home, but yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
So it's kind of like an evergreen industry the way I look at it. And so moving on, we actually think that we had some discussions earlier on about how there are it's getting more apparent right now that there's not enough participants in Web3 gaming, and for the projects in the space to succeed, we actually need to onboard more Web2 gamers. We need to bring more gamers on board. So, from your point of view, how do you think we should go about bridging the gap between Web3 gaming and Web2 gamers?
Yeah, I'm going to say two things about that. And one is just the assumption that we need to bring on more Web 2 gamers into Web 3. A lot of the time, that assumption comes from unsustainable tokenomics that require more people to keep pumping up the demand. And so you need more people if you need to sustain some growth, but that's a really, really risky proposition if your whatever you're doing relies on that 100%, because at some point you won't get more people. That's not to say that the industry isn't continuing to grow, and I think that there's huge growth potential, but there's also huge competition. And people will be shifting their eyes and moving from one project to the next, even as Web3 gaming goes up. And there's going to be a lot more competition, a lot more people doing it well. Now, from the actually moving Web 2 into Web 3, I think if the focus is on making the best video games and using Web3 to make them better or make them more engaging, then the Web2 gamers are going to follow. You need to make it frictionless. You need to make it seamless to the extent that you don't have people fumbling with wallets. That's going to be really, really important, because no one wants to be scared of, oh, well, what happens if I lose all my stuff? So you need to make sure the experience is good, but you need to do that with everything relating to the game. You need to make sure that the user experience is good, regardless of whether it's due to something Web3 or not. So I think from a long-term perspective, if blockchain is going to actually be a viable part of the gaming experience, it needs to be done in a way that enhances it, rather than just, hey, we want to use the tech because this is cool, and how do we get Web2 people to believe that it's cool? Well, I mean, I think we saw that with Off the Grid, that Web2 people were just like, oh, this is kind of cool that I can just do this and sell and trade. So that worked within that gameplay model. And so it's finding the implementation that is going to resonate with Web2 gamers, because that's what makes the game experience better for them. If you're trying to do anything outside of that with blockchain, I think you should stop, because it's not going to make it any better. And you're not going to, and then Web2 people are going to be like, oh, this is scammy or weird or whatever colorful adjective they might add to that, because they don't like people trying to take advantage of them.
Yeah, and that makes sense as well, because from I'm just taking a step back and looking at it from an outside point of view. I know we're all in the space, so we actually know what's going on. But for people who are outside of our space, they will be looking in and they'll be thinking, man, this space is full of like scammers and people trying to rub, and all my money is going to go. So if this space has a reputation like that, I think it's up to us to make sure that we provide a safe environment for gamers who come in who just want to play games, right? If I just want to play games, I don't want to have to worry about losing all my money while I'm playing a game. That doesn't make sense to me, right? So I
Totally.
think,
And just to add on to that, because then you need to question what product you're providing. Are you providing a game to make an enhanced game experience, or are you providing, for some, it might be a more interactive gambling program, right? And that's not me throwing shade. That's just how these things are designed, which is that, hey, if we can add betting into this game mechanic, and in some cases that could be making it more engaging, but in some cases it's forget about the game itself. All we want to focus on is this element to it. And so I always just come back to, okay, what's the focus at the end of the day? If someone said, hey, you can tell someone one sentence about your game, are you going to talk about what is going to appeal to the gamer? Or are you going to talk about what's going to appeal to the crypto person?
yep. And I think that's where the so-called degen games are coming up in the space right now. So at the end of the day, I think it depends on the project, the founding team, what kind of game do they want to create and who they want to target. So they really do need to get all these things flushed out right from the start, so that they know which direction to go and which features to prioritize while they are in development. Yeah. So and
100%.
I think now it's a pretty good time to dive straight into FaenoraVerse, right? So
Yeah.
for some of the audience who might not be familiar, maybe you can let us know what is the FaenoraVerse and what is your vision for it.
Yeah, so the FaenoraVerse is what we consider our kind of multiverse, if you will, from 2TG's perspective. So we've started out with two games, and we started with a proof of concept, and really it was just targeting, okay, let's look from a medieval fantasy strategy tactical RPG perspective. How can we do something cool and unique and meaningfully implement blockchain in it. Now, the FaenoraVerse goes far beyond that, from just the gaming to looking at how can we also collaborate with other entertainment mediums, with film, with comics, with other things, where again it's using blockchain as that interconnectivity, and how can we create an expansive community and entertainment realm that's able to elevate every medium that it touches by using blockchain specifically for those use cases where it can be the glue or the chain to do that, whether it's interoperability between different games and characters and trading, or if it's doing something unique with film. And I have some background as well in the film and TV space, and talking to people in that space over the past several years about them being interested in, okay, what could you do with blockchain? But we don't really understand it. But there have been some movies that have been funded using an NFT, but what does that actually do? So just bridging the gap, basically, to create a huge universe of entertainment where blockchain is the thing that kind of nets everything together.
I see. So basically, the FaenoraVerse, if I can just summarize it up, the FaenoraVerse, it's the whole IP itself, right? And
Yeah,
then you have different aspects of it. You know, you got games, you got films, you got comics, and so on and
yeah,
so forth. But the FaenoraVerse is the encompassing IP, right? So
exactly.
can I then assume that there will be more games that's being added in the future? Because I understand right now there's the Wildlands of Faenora, and you
Yeah,
also have Battle for Faenora, right?
yeah.
So
So where I've been very careful because of having been in the industry for so long and seen so many unfulfilled promises, as people talk a lot and then spend the next 4 years not doing anything and then be like, we tried. I tend to keep everything pretty tight in terms of what we're announcing, which is very much, hey, here's like production ready or close to it. So this is what we're talking about. But you're 100% correct. I mean, we have um, 4 games in total that have some element of game design done, with the concept all there. 2 of them, one is Battle for Faenora, one's Wildlands of Faenora. And the idea behind the FaenoraVerse, as we continue to build, is that we grow on each experience and show. And it's all about showcasing how this can be done to make things better and to mesh one world with the other, and how you can be creative. I love the storytelling aspect of it. And the FaenoraVerse, we have Moochkin, which is our dimension traveling red panda, and that's really what connects everything, because you have the ability to have this red panda that can travel from one dimension to the next and act as that bridge for any world to be able to connect in a meaningful, like, lore story like way. And so we have a lot of ideas around that, and not all in the strategy and tactical RPG space, but wanting to do something meaningful with whatever game we're bringing to the table.
so can I just ask for the Wildlands of Faenora and Battle for Faenora? How are these two games linked? Do they exist in like the same universe, or
Yes,
does it
yes.
within these
So
two? Go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Wildlands of Faenora takes place about 15 years before Battle for Faenora does, and so it's it's capturing one side of the kingdom of Faenora, where this wizard has broken a gate to the nether realm, and that's caused a bunch of monsters to come in. And that's kind of the triggering action that leads to a revolution within Faenora that's captured in Battle for Faenora, which is going to be the war hero general who's working for the kingdom of Faenora to close off that Nethergate, learns of dark secrets attached to the kingdom of Faenora. And in the end, it's his son in the Battle for Faenora that leads the charge of this revolution against um, against the kingdom that, in partnership with dark forces, has been oppressing all of the people. And it's kind of that classic story of the people rising up against an oppressive regime. And Wildlands of Faenora is just kind of, you're going to see some key characters from that, some key events that will eventually lead to that, but all within the same world.
So would you say that the Wildlands of Faenora is kind of like a prelude, and that the Battle of Faenora is actually the main story?
There are two different stories. So I would say they're done in and I'm saying this because Wildlands of Faenora, we have in the alpha demo, or just we've framed it with the story, but that is really what you would have seen in that is just kind of the beginning and end of chapter 1 of what we have planned for the story mode for Wildlands of Faenora, and that has its own whole story arc with the character of the hero that you're using in Wildlands of Faenora. And then Battle for Faenora, you're going to see some elements that go across from one to the next, but they're very much their own standalone stories in their own right. And we're going to see, I mean, part of it, as we develop, there's a lot of story and lore around what we want to build. And as we go, we're going to see, okay, what's resonating, how, in terms of the gameplay perspective for Battle for Faenora, there's a lot of opportunity, a lot more opportunity in terms of PvP and PvE and different things that we can do with that are going to be really exciting, that don't require as much of a story push to it, but has a lot of replayability over and over again, outside of the roguelike nature that we have in Wildlands of Faenora, that's much more a single player focused one. So with the single player focus of Wildlands, we can tell a different type of story than we would be able to tell with a more multiplayer focused game like Battle for Faenora that we're shifting to.
I could go on for hours because for me,
Me
I'm a
too.
gamer at heart as well. So the
Yeah.
story is the most important thing about any game that I play, right? So
Yeah.
like previous game which I played, Horizon, Zero
Yeah.
Dawn, or Forbidden West, the story is the most important thing that keeps you wanting to come back day after day. And even older games like Mass Effect, you have Mass Effect 1, 2,
Yeah.
3, and all of them, the story is really tight for each of those chapters as well. So
Yeah.
for me, I always think that the lore, the world building, it's so important, and I'm so happy to hear that you guys have all these things planned out already for the
Oh,
entire
totally.
FaenoraVerse. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was I was a little bit I was a little bit bummed with Battle for Faenora. I originally had just the whole story written out, and I was like, oh, this is how we're gonna do it. Here are the chapters, this, whatever. And then at that time, Final Fantasy 16 came out, and I saw all of the buzz around it, and I saw how it got picked up, and people were so excited, and then they beat it. And then, oh, you don't hear anything about it anymore. And that, which is fine, because that's a story. People enjoyed it, played it to its conclusion, and it moved on. But then from that side, it was more of a okay, that is a trickier one to do when you're looking at the blockchain side. And if we're trying to build games that showcase the blockchain features, there needs to be more of that longevity, more of that live service type element, so that people aren't just, hey, I not only paid for the game, or I bought this character, but I want to keep coming back to it because there's more to do, and there's more than just the linear story. So we're trying to make sure we're navigating that in the right way, that we're always building out the lore around the FaenoraVerse, and we have so many stories to tell, and we want to tell them, but we're doing it in a responsible way, with how we want the gameplay to work and how we want it to marry the engaging elements that we have that are going to keep players coming back again and again. and then how we can tie those into maybe other story mediums, because there might be a good way. Hey, we handle this side of the battle for Faenora in the game, and then look, we have this other way, whether it's through film or a web series or something, to showcase what's going on outside of these battles that you're fighting. Well, what's the story that's kind of weaving its way through all of that? So we just want to use whatever entertainment medium we can to be able to continue to build out and tell these stories and do something that's really special beyond just kind of, hey, we have this one project and hopefully people want to play it for as long as, you know, the project is around. But yeah, we'll move on to other things. There's a pretty grand vision behind all of it.
That's great to hear, and I'm super excited, for you guys to complete with the Wildlands of Faenora first, and then slowly expand to Battle of Faenora, and then Game 3 and Game 4, and then
Yeah,
comics, movies, TV shows,
totally,
whatever that you have planned, right?
totally.
Okay, but I think we need to keep moving, otherwise we'll be stuck in talking about the
Yeah,
lore and story the whole session. uh,
I'm with you.
right. So, okay, so earlier on you mentioned that the blockchain being implemented into the FaenoraVerse. How do you actually balance between blockchain innovation and player accessibility and enjoyment? Because I think it's quite a fine line for you to be able to draw on this.
It is. And the big kind of baseline that we set is that blockchain needs to be optional. So I think when we take that approach as a first stance, it gives us a lot more leeway as we look at that, because then it becomes a matter of friction rather than a matter of, well, how do we make sure that we don't upset the people who don't want anything to do with it, but we just want to make it as easy on them as we're shoving it down their throat? No, it's, hey, if you want to use it, then check out what these features are. If you like them, you can use it. If not, then stick with the classic normal experience, and we're going to build out and hope. I mean, we've already seen with what we've put out, there's no blockchain actual, like the blockchain mode isn't in there, and people have already spent like 40, 50, 100 hours playing the alpha demo. That in and of itself gives me a lot of comfort in the fact that we've done something right from the gameplay perspective. And then it's just about providing options and providing information so that people know, okay, if I want to go down this blockchain route, what's that going to give me? And if I just stick with kind of the plain vanilla standard edition, then I can still enjoy the basic gameplay. I won't get access to this high stakes, high reward side where I'm competing with others for tokens and have these and have the potential risk of this character that I earned or I spent a bunch of money on, that they're dying, and now I need to figure that out. Oh no, that's terrible. But all of it has in-game consequences. It's all within the realm of the game. So I feel like as long as the information is there, then people will have the choice of how deep do they want to go, and it's just adding other levels of strategy and tactical gameplay to what's already a solid base.
And I think it's a pretty unique way that you guys have implemented this, because I know of some other games, what they do is they have two completely different versions of the same game, one with blockchain implementation and one without. But you guys are doing it slightly differently. It's the same game, except story mode is no blockchain integration, and then you
Yeah.
have the alpha hunt mode, the hunt mode, that is with blockchain integration, right? But it's essentially the same game, right? You're just playing different
Yeah,
modes within the same game.
exactly. And there's within, just going back to the story side of it a little bit, and within the story of the world, it also makes sense is that you have this hero that's on traveling in one part of the wildlands to solve this problem, which is all of these monsters came in. But then on the other side, you have this mercenary town where it's mercenaries who are trying to get as much, kill as many monsters as they can to earn rewards. And so it fits within the story of, hey, you want to be a mercenary and you want to go out and grind and earn rewards and get stronger, then you can do that. Or you want the story mode that is more this magical. You have a Phoenix amulet. If you die, you get revived, and it follows that type of approach. So even in doing that, we wanted to make sure it's still true to the narrative and the world that we're building.
Makes a lot of sense. And
Yeah.
so, from your experience so far, what has been the most challenging aspect of blockchain integration into games?
Um, I think the most challenging one has been dealing with people's expectations as it relates to blockchain, because the problem is, as well, our approach is really, game experience focused. And there's a lot of, crypto who would be self-proclaimed crypto degens out there who couldn't care less about that, as long as, their focus is, well, what's the one that's going to get me the most rewards or have the highest rise in whatever time frame that we're looking for. And so as a Web3 gaming project, where we're not doing that hype chasing and, hey, we need to really be on the cutting edge for the purpose of getting those surfers who are looking for the biggest wave, well, they're not going to be as interested in what we're doing until they think that the wave is there. And then they're going to ride it for as long as they think that they can ride it. But our goal with that is about really building this sustained gaming ecosystem and this universe where we're constantly providing more value through better gaming experiences. So I think there is some disconnect for some who are just looking at, hey, I'm going to go from, meme coins to meme NFTs to whatever is going to make me the quickest bang for my buck. They're probably going to look at us and be like, well, why? I'm not going to spend time playing your game. I just want to know, hey, it's a cute panda. Maybe you can just do something with that really quickly, and I can jump on board and then jump off as I look at squirrel over there, and then go to the next thing. So really, it's trying to balance. How do we make sure we're being true to the idea that's behind it, which is, hey, is there real value here that's sustaining? And not get caught up by the noise, because there's a lot of noise out there, but do it in a way that is really still focused on the people who want that experience. And that is finding the right line of how these are the communities that are into what we're doing. And even if they have that proclivity or are interested in, well, I can make a lot of money by doing that. And I'm sure they can. I'm a terrible trader, so no one should ever take any trading advice from me. But it's trying to just showcase, okay, where do we bring value to the table in terms of what we're doing? At the same time, testing, hey, where can blockchain bring the most value to the gaming experience? Trying to stay focused on that rather than, oh, well, what could we do to make a quick buck now that will put us in a bad position for sustainability later?
Yep. And you guys are not isolating or telling these people not to come into your ecosystem as well, because I understand that you have
No.
the financier in the game in your future plans.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
people who are too busy to be playing the game, but they still want to have an interest in the game. So maybe you could share a little bit more about
Totally.
that.
Yeah. So our goal is, there's still a lot of opportunity that we want to give to those people who are wanting to support projects like ours, because they see a future with it and they're like, oh, this is great, but hey, tactics RPGs aren't really my thing. And that's perfectly fine. So for those people, and especially if they're interested in what we're looking to build with the FaenoraVerse, it's a really great option of, we have this financier in the Wildlands, where you'd be able to stake your NFT mercenaries and basically say, hey, you're going to get Moochie tokens, which are our cute red panda token, in exchange for staking your mercenary NFTs in the game. And the idea behind is that those mercenaries are going out and hunting for someone else, and you're getting a piece of the pie. And all of our earnings are going to be coming from a sustainable way, which is either basically the base model for it is what people are spending within that universe, you're now competing for. And so whether you're going out and killing the monsters yourself or staking your mercenaries to lend them to other people to use as the concept, you're going to get a piece of what's being spent so that we have that in-game churn. We have an encouraging closed loop system that isn't relying on more and more gamers coming in. Otherwise, it goes down because, oh no, it's kind of a self-regulating economy, because the more you share it with, the more people there are to spend in the game. The fewer you share it with, the fewer people there are that are spending in the game, and it kind of cracks in a linear way.
Hmm. And yeah, so I think that's a really good option and a really good plan that you have to cater for, people who actually want to play the game itself, or people who have an interest in the game, but they may not have as much time. Maybe they are working, busy with their jobs and lives and stuff like this. But
Oh,
they.
I'm gonna do it. I don't have as much time as all these people who are playing. I'm
That
gonna,
makes
yeah,
sense.
I think my guys are gonna be staked for a lot longer than I'd like to admit.
All right. So maybe you can zoom in more on the Wildlands of Faenora. What
Yeah.
does the game look like for you at the end state?
At the end state, so at the end state of Wildlands of Faenora, so I mentioned or alluded to live service as an idea before. So we have we have 4 seasons on the hunt mode side of things.
Mhm.
We have 4 seasons of content planned with a number of seasons beyond that, assuming it would still have the interest and as things keep going. So we have basically more than a year of post-launch additional content that we'll be bringing to the table um, to expand the features, to give you more control, more customization, all of these pieces on the hunt mode side, including a lot of more bosses and all of this stuff. And on the story mode side, we have a full, like, four chapter plus post game content that we want to deliver on that as well. And so we're doing a Steam kind of a standard edition, which is no blockchain on Steam, and then a FaenoraVerse edition that is our browser-based one right now. But our plans for Wildlands at the end state is a complete, full, 50 plus hours of story mode that's standalone on Steam that people will love. The hunt mode that has a ton of content for people to spend, hundreds and thousands of hours competing with each other, playing as we continue to expand and give more options and more content, and then also moving on to mobile with it and other platforms as there's demand for it. So a pretty broad and aggressive vision for it. But what we've seen so far, I mean, we have almost 10,000 wish lists on Steam, and we haven't done a cent of marketing for any of our Steam wish list stuff. And so there's a lot of interest of people who are excited about what we're doing. So I think we just, we keep going for it.
Yeah. So I mean, it sounds like you guys really have a lot planned out for the Wildlands of Faenora. Is there any estimates right now on when the full launch will be? When version 1.0 will be released?
Well, I would say we'll even take an iterative approach to that full launch. So, being an indie studio, there's a fair amount of costs that we've just taken on myself to be financing it. So as we go, so we have currently our alpha demo that showcases the basis of it. Then we're moving to our alpha of the hunt mode that showcases that blockchain version um, of the hunt mode specifically. Then we do the mint, and we're going to call that our hunt mode beta. And then we're going to do an early access of our story mode that has the first chapter, and that'll be on Steam, where we can get the first chapter out, and then probably have 6 to 9 months on the story mode as we build out the rest of that, alongside doing all of the seasons of seasons 1 to 4 of our hunt mode over the next year. So we're looking at a lot of work over the next, still 18 to 24 months, but it's constant engagement of giving more of the gaming experience, expanded gaming experience, and doing it much more on a kind of hand-in-hand perspective with the community, so that as we keep going, we can see what's resonating, we can see what people are liking, and lean into those things as they come up, and see things that people are just like, meh, and they're like, okay, well, if they're not that into that side of it, then we don't need to focus more on that, and we can lean into these other things. So really trying to do it in a way that's honoring the vision, but also honoring the players, because we get a lot of really great feedback. And so wanting to use that so that the end result, when we finally sit down and be like, okay, that's it, and still have some post content type stuff on the live service side, but that moment when we sit down and we're like, okay, that is the story we wanted to tell with Wildlands, we will have done it where we're not the only hand on the pen, but the community and the players also had a really meaningful role in that too.
Yeah. So I think that is kind of like building in public, the Web3 gaming ethos, where everybody
Mm-hmm.
is getting feedback while they're building the game. So I think you guys are already doing it right here, right?
Yeah.
And just to dive into what you spoke about earlier on, you mentioned that you guys have been getting feedback from the community on what they like and what they don't like. So I'm just wondering, what are some of the most surprising feedback that you have actually gotten from the members of the community?
I think the most surprising thing for me is that I haven't heard anything consistent from people that was either like, oh, I never thought of something like that, oh, that's definitely not the way that we want to go. Like, it was surprising for me that it was very much in alignment with either plans that we already had, or just a different perspective of how to solve a problem we've identified, and we're looking to do it in a different way. So it was really cool to see, like, and we on Steam, we've gotten like pages and pages of feedback. And for some people, they just have bad luck and they're really upset about that. And it's like, yeah, that's tough. I get that. And for other people, some feedback is basically, here, you should change all of these things about the base game so that it's more like this game. And it's like, you just want us to make a different game. And that's fine. I hope someone makes that game for you eventually. But the ones that actually were looking at it for what it is, it was all really lockstep with plans that we have as we're developing. And what I found, I think the most surprising thing that I found is that a lot of people assumed that it was farther along than it was. So it was kind of like, oh, well, if you're this far, why haven't you done this yet? It's like, yo, this is just the alpha demo. This is just to showcase how the gameplay works, to make sure that, we're on the right track with it. We're not, yeah, we don't have a polished tutorial. Absolutely not. Because we're still building out a bunch of systems. And once those are all done, then we'll spend the time to do that. Otherwise, we're spending precious developer time, which we're a small team, just to do that piece that we're going to need to change every single build, because we're doing so much work on the back end, just building out all the systems and making it happen.
Right. And I mean, there's definitely so much things to do. And, I've been in a startup environment myself before, and you're usually putting on many different hats at the same time.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah, I can understand. There's certain feedback from the community that can come in and, you will take them. But certain things, you might just have to put it aside first, maybe come back to it a bit later on, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, mm,
And the important thing is just us staying true to, okay, what are we looking to accomplish with the game? What is going to make the game better? Any feedback that we have that we can fit in that's going to make the game better in accordance with the vision that we have, with where we see this is going, 100% will be in on it, and not getting caught up on, well, what what is going to detract us from that just because there are loud voices that say one thing or another.
that's great. And it's so good that, the team actually takes in the feedback, but they discuss and filter the feedback and not just take everything in. Otherwise you'd be
Totally.
running in all different directions right now.
Yeah, exactly.
So, what is coming up next for the Wildlands of Faenora? I understand that last month there was actually the pre-sale that was going on, and
Yeah.
I've heard that there's going to be another event that's coming up in February. Maybe you could share more about that.
Yes. So we did a tournament in December, and we're doing another little tournament before our alpha hunt mode tournament. And this is about to kick off very soon. So right now it's February 3rd, over here in Vancouver, and so early February there's going to be this other event that's kicking off, and then we have our hunt mode alpha, as we're doing rampant play testing. When people start doing these tournaments for prizes that have real value, as we're looking at a lot of different opportunities for people to win prizes with mercenaries and partnering with other groups. We have a lot of excitement, and it's cool, where we have a lot of collaboration opportunities with really strong, reputable groups. Not all of whom I can name yet, but there's lots that we'll be announcing in the coming weeks. It's cool that we have those opportunities, but we need to be very careful, because like people will try anything they can to game the system. So we've been doing a ton of work over the past several months, just trying to shore up all of the game design, all of the back end functionality, so that we can kind of, close off all of the seams that people could try to do something to take advantage over other people, because then it's not fun, right? We want to have these tournaments that people are, like is competing against like, and it's not that someone's been able to just kind of hack their way in, and then it makes it no fun for anyone. So we've been working hard on that, and that's what's coming up in the near term. Our pre-sale is ongoing. We have some more exciting stuff that we're doing around that, and our mint. There will be a lot of information coming out on when we're going to be minting, as we go through this in the next few months.
Right. And I have to ask as well, is there a cutoff date for your pre-sale, or when can people keep participating it till?
We haven't announced the cutoff date for the pre-sale yet. There will be, and I expect that to be sometime in March. That's the but I don't know if that's right, though. I think I'm safe to say that. I think I'm safe to say that we wouldn't be cutting off the pre-sale before March. But we'll be putting out information, and we try to be super open, and anyone who wants any information, and we have a newsletter, and we're really active on Twitter, so we can always be reached there. But for anyone who's interested in the pre-sale, we have this whole big Kickstarter like pre-sale page that they should definitely check out.
All right. So yeah, for anyone that's interested, they have, as of this recording, you have one more month in order to participate in the pre-sale if you're interested. For the latest news, be sure to check out FaenoraVerse Twitter profile to see if they close early. Hopefully not, right?
Yeah, no. Well, if all of a sudden, the floodgates open, then we'll give you some advanced warning. But definitely check out the pre-sale page. It's www.FaenoraVerse.com/presale.
Yeah, I'll put the links down in the description below. So if anybody wants to check it out, just feel free to click on it. Okay, so Nathan, as we start the wrap up, is there any alpha that you can share with us today?
Oh, so I would say there's one is we have these, so of NFT characters, we have mercenaries, and we have villagers, and we also have a third category called we call them hero characters. So Alistair is a fell knight that has some really, he's pretty legit, and one of the only upcoming opportunities to get him outside of participating in the pre-sale. So you can get him in the pre-sale, and we have an event coming up very soon where people will be playing to compete against each other for him. And there's another hero character that we will be, that's also very, very limited edition, that we will be announcing in February. And that one, for any hero character, you are going to have a much better chance at getting them if you are in one of the top tiers as our pre-sale supporters. So for anyone who thinks that's important to them, definitely check out our pre-sale page, and we have a limited number of those top, I think it's Legendary Master and Epic Hunter. Those are kind of our top tiers in our pre-sale. So you're going to definitely want to look at that.
All right. New hero will be dropping in February. So everybody, you heard it over here first. Keep a lookout for that, and I'm sure it'll be a strong hero, right? Is it going to be the same class as the Fell Knight?
It is, yes. This one's really, really cool, and a really unique partnership that we have for that one. So we're really excited to announce that one.
Okay. All right. I won't dig any further.
Yeah. No, that'll be a good one.
Okay. So yeah. Just the last question, right? Is there anything that you wanted to share that we have not covered yet?
No, I think we covered a good batch of information. I would just say, for anyone who's still listening to this, please, follow us, support us, engage with us, share us with your friends, play the demo if you haven't yet. You can find us on Steam, Wildlands of Faenora, or you can play it on your browser at faenora.world, FAENORA, and you'll have links as well. But really, we just want to engage with players in the community and continue to develop this strong community around what we're building. And it's kind of the start of the FaenoraVerse rocket ship. And we're hoping that as we continue to ramp up, we'll be able to do and showcase an awful lot more that we have planned.
And I can't wait to see everything that you guys have planned coming up very, very soon. Okay,
Yeah.
Nathan, thank you so much for your time then.
Yeah, you bet. Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks everyone for tuning in as well. Bye.